I dated a guy for a year and a half. Still don't think I understand him at all. Like, I didn't know him because he wouldn't
He wouldn't open up.
at all. And to me, it numbed me out.
So welcome back. This is week 4. I'm hanging out here with Lily again.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking this week about something called positive inception. And positive inception is a term. I was actually playing with this concept, calling it emotional transference, because that's in psychology. When you're working with a client as a hypnotherapist, sometimes emotional transference happens. It's when they transfer and express their emotions onto you. So maybe they're feeling a sense of attraction to their therapist, or maybe they're feeling a sense of anger at their therapist, and they're transferring various emotions. Well, in life, it happens the same way. When you're out running around in life and you're meeting people, your emotions are constantly affecting everybody around you, okay? And you want to be really aware of what they are. And this is even true of guys that are in their heads. The only difference with guys that are in their heads is there's a sense of shut off of emotion, or pulled up, or being too analytical, and the lack of feeling emotion, or just feeling a nervousness or an anxiety. And so you got to get beneath that to get to the real emotions. Now, this book, Before Happiness, by Sean Anker, talks about, it's their skill number 5 in this book. It's called positive inception. The best leaders in the world, the best motivators in the world, have this ability to transfer emotion to you, to get you excited, to get you feeling the emotion. And they do it through a principle called positive inception. And they got the term from the movie Inception, this idea of installing an idea in somebody else. So with that said, this book, Positive Inception, really nails an idea that I think is super important. Animals are always feeling each other's emotions. People are always feeling each other's emotions. Because of language and because of our analytical minds, we've kind of lost the awareness of that ability, at least men more than women have. But what we're really doing in good conversation, good communication, is relating to each other's emotions. And I think women understand this more than men, and men are missing this today. When you see a group of women talking, maybe they're having Sunday brunch and they're sharing drinks and sharing their whole week and their stories, what are they doing? You see them all, some guys would call it cackling and all this noise. But in reality, if you pay attention, they seem random, but they're actually sharing emotions. She shares something sad, and then the other, her friend, will share something sad back, or relate to, or understand or feel her sadness, and then relate back with it. And they're trading emotions back and forth, and that's how they feel connected. That's how they feel like they relate to each other. So a lot of people can say the words and deliver the communication, but it doesn't mean the emotions are there. And those are usually people that are not as good communicating. They don't do as well communicating or getting their point across. Somebody like Will Smith, when you watch a motivational video by him, you can feel all the emotion in it. You can feel the transference of emotion. When you watch a phenomenal actor on screen, you can feel the emotion coming off that actor. You can feel the transference of that emotion. And that's what positive inception is all about. The ability to do that is a skill set that can be learned. And in going a little deeper into it, you really start to understand. I've alluded to it in some of the previous videos. But before I get to it, I'm going to get to the skill set in and of itself. When I talk about positive inception, I talk about this idea of Sunday brunch. Does that connect with you?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if my friend's telling me, oh God, he did this. I'm like, oh my God, really? And I'll, like you said, tell a different story, and then we'll commiserate together.
Yeah, and you can feel it in your body, right? You drop down. Yeah. Versus thinking about it analytical. Let's play with this another way. The lack of positive inception. Have you ever been on a date with a guy or dated a guy who would listen to every word you said, but you could tell he wasn't feeling your emotions, which is the ability to receive her emotions and feel them run through your body? In other words, he was repeating back everything you said. He was right, but he never felt it.
I felt glossed over in a sense of he's getting the information, but not registering how it's upsetting me or the true meaning behind it. So how could he make me feel better if he doesn't understand?
So he's got the words. And so you've probably experienced this as a man out there. You'll be listening to a woman talk, maybe it was your girlfriend at the time, or maybe it's somebody you're with, and you can repeat back everything she says, but she keeps saying, but you don't hear me, you don't listen to me. And it comes back to this idea of positive inception. She's giving you emotions, but you're not letting them in. And that's huge. You gotta let them in. Otherwise, she doesn't feel heard. So we're going to play with this idea a little bit. It's this ability to move emotion from person to person. Now, earlier we talked about tension, and then we talked a little bit about vulnerability. The key with positive inception, if I just take Lily and stand her in front of me, is first I'm going to feel tension. I'm just going to let the tension be a little thick right now. So now I'm pushing a little bit with the tension. So imagine this to be like a hose or a conduit from me to her. And it's really solid, and I'm pushing on the tension. This is what people do when they try to act confident. They're going to push. The next step is to relax. Still keep the tension, keep the conduit, but almost like relax inside of it, like you're relaxing into the inside of a wire to feel the electricity, or inside of a hose to feel the water flow through. And you do that by feeling and relaxing all the way down the front of your body, all the way down to your legs. And the more you relax, the more you can start to flow with emotions back and forth. And what happens there is that when I start to get in touch with my emotions, if I get in touch with curiosity, I can start to keep just enough tension to let that curiosity pass to her. And I can look into her and just let her feel my curiosity. Or if I go to appreciation, I can go into appreciation and let that transfer to her and just let her feel that. All emotions are available. If I'm a little frustrated or angry, I can even let her feel that, and that's fine. Because letting her see your anger in a relationship is important. She needs to see it. She needs to feel it. She wants to be there for it. It's when you wall off and she can tell you're angry, but you're not letting her in, that it's scary and that it's dangerous. Okay? Is that true? Okay. It's very true. And have you ever had that experience where the guy's just angry and he won't let you in because he doesn't want it to bother you with it, or he doesn't want to hurt you with it, or he doesn't want you to see it because he doesn't want to be vulnerable, something like that?
Well, that's what I never understood the bothering with. It's like I don't understand that concept, because it wouldn't bother me.
Okay, that's exactly it. He thinks it will, though, right? That's
what it's a foreign concept.
It's either he wants to withhold it because he doesn't want you to see him as vulnerable, or he doesn't want to bother you, or he feels like he's going to be attacking you and hurting you, and so he withholds that, and something like that. And so in reality, if I'm angry and I'm like right here with my anger, but I'm opening, and even if I'm angry at her and I'm opening, I'm angry and I want to talk about this, that is much more powerful. That's when anger can be sexy versus leading to something destructive.
Well, exactly. Like, I don't expect everyone to be happy, jolly all the time. People get pissed off. So I expect that. And I'm expecting at some point. So
good. So positive inception is the transference of these emotions. So after we get done bantering and we're playing, and I'm like, I call you trouble, you call me whatever, or I call you goofball and you tease me, and we go back and forth a few times, there's going to be this point at which this guy's interesting, I want to get to know him. Or maybe we've known each other a while and we're just flirting that morning. Now we can start to transfer deeper emotions. And through positive inception, I can tell her a story and she can feel all my emotions. I can tell her about the time my dog died when I was a child. And if that's important or relevant in the moment, I can tell her about my baby sister and how much I have a huge respect for her and how much I love her. And she can feel that. And that means a lot to her. And the best thing here is you only tell real stories from your life. You get in touch with real stories and you really tell them, and she'll feel the difference. And even when I say I love my baby sister, I feel it well up inside me a little bit, because she's done amazing stuff with her life. And to me, it's one of those things where I think she turned out the best out of all my dad's kids. So I have a huge respect. And if I ever have a daughter, that's what I'd want her to be like. So she begins to feel that, and she begins to feel where I'm at, who I'm at as a human being. She gets a picture of what's important to me through the transference of emotion from me to her. And then she'll ask questions, I'll ask questions. Doesn't mean you divulge everything right away, or you have to even divulge a lot. A little bit is important. When I was first learning this stuff, we were learning to tell stories, and we were learning to tell deep stories. And I had learned to tell the deepest, most painful story in my life at the time. And it would often bring up tears. And I was dating a girl who knew what I did for a living and what I was learning. And she asked me, I remember specifically, we were sitting in this Chinese restaurant in San Francisco. And she said to me, what is they called it the deep rapport story. What is your deep rapport story? She said, I've never heard yours. And I said, all I had to say to her, and this kind of really, if you pay attention to this really, I think, says it all for women, and I want to hear what you think. All I had to say to her was, well, we're in a Chinese restaurant, so I don't think I can share the whole story here because it's going to be too emotional. But if you really want to know, it involves a woman, and I think I might have said her name, a woman named Emily, who broke my heart. And it was actually the worst breakup I ever went through. And if you want to hear the rest, I'll tell you later. And she goes, no, that's all. She says, no, that's it. That's all I need to know. It was my willingness to tell her and feel emotion with her. Now, when I told that story back in San Francisco, it was still very fresh. And so immediately it starts to bring up tears. Now it doesn't. There's a little bit of emotion there, but not huge. And so it's gonna feel different to her than it did the other woman. But the fact that I was willing to go to that deep place made her very happy, even if it was just for a moment. And she said she was fine. She didn't need to hear the rest unless I wanted to tell her. So what's your feeling on that from a woman's perspective?
It just makes me feel like you trust me with the information.
Yeah.
So I mean, it makes me curious, but like, she didn't push you for more information because you didn't need to. She saw it enough. Yeah. So I agree with that. Sometimes you don't. Emotion can't be enough. Like, words would never describe it. So.
Yeah. And that's super true. What they're needing from you is emotion and feeling. And so many of you are running around with stories and rapport stories and routines and patterns that are void of all the emotion. They're just memorized lines in your head. And when you start learning to feel your body again, that's huge. Now, with this all said, the best way to practice getting in touch with your emotions is to write down a list of emotions like happiness, sadness, shame, guilt, and then write down a list of experiences, the first kiss, first love, first time I did X or Y, and then write down a memory for each one. You don't have to write down the whole story, but note under each memory, what was the most emotional aspect? What makes you feel the most now when you tell it? And then go out and tell those stories to friends. Practice for the next week, 2 weeks, practice telling those stories. Not down here, shut off, but looking at them, feeling them, looking into their eyes, having an emotional connection, and sit and tell the story. Don't go into a ton of detail. Go into enough detail to make the story make sense. Analytical guys want to give so much detail they kill the emotion. Okay? And also put in enough detail so you have a story. So there's this balance, right? And that's what you want to do. You want to practice doing this and watch how people react. Get used to it. If you're having trouble feeling your emotions, if this is hard for you to feel your emotions, which it was for me in the beginning, people used to tell me to fill out a gratitude journal. I couldn't do it because when I sat down to feel gratitude, I couldn't access gratitude at that moment. It either had to happen in the moment or it didn't. I couldn't pull it up at will. So gratitude journals didn't work for me back then. Now they work great. And that was because I had no access to my own body, which is where the emotions are stored. And I had to develop it. So if you're having trouble feeling your emotions, that's where you need to do embodiment work. That's where you need to do work with expression and movement. And this is where, like yoga, acting, anything that gets you into your body more, feeling your body more, which is where the emotions are stored. Here at Fearless, we have specific embodiment programs where we work to get you specifically in touch with your emotions for storytelling, for communication, for connection. And we have specific practices where we bring in these beautiful models like Lily, and you get to practice that stuff with them live. And you get direct feedback. We also bring you up on camera so you get to see yourself, and you'll literally see yourself pulling back, pushing away, turning this way, shaking. You'll see all the stuff you do to push women away. And 90% of men that come in here don't know they're doing it. They have no clue until they see it, and then they're shocked. Remember, the results you're getting in life indicate how you feel inside. So if you're not sure what's going on, or if you're not getting the results you want out here, there's something going on inside of here. And you're probably just not seeing it yet. Okay? So that's how we practice positive inception. Once you've got the positive inception, then you can sit down and tell a story. And then I'm gonna turn you really quick. And then, so you can sit here and practice. You can get a friend, hold their hands if you want, or if it's a guy and you just want to, it just works. This works just fine with guys too. You can do it with guys and practice feeling each other's emotions and go out and talk to girls. It works both ways. But let's say I want to talk about, I want to tell a story about the dog that in my childhood that I loved the most. I can go into that story and how we lost that dog and what happened, and it can be a deep story, you know. And it was a really sad moment. I'm not going to go into the whole story, but well, maybe I will. Let's see here. So we had this dog. The dog's name was Brandy, and we had it since he was a puppy. She was this dog that I felt like could feel everybody's emotions in the whole house. It was just a sweetheart. And we had another dog, Ginger. And Ginger was a boy. I don't know why we called him Ginger. But we had Ginger and Brandy, and they were an inseparable part of each other. Well, when I was a child, we had to move. We had a big house, and my mom lost it in a divorce, and we had to move out. And we had to move into this little tiny apartment, which only allowed one dog. And my mom decided to get rid of Brandy and keep Ginger. And the reason for that was because she felt that nobody could handle Ginger. Ginger was a little wild. And Brandy was older, and somebody could handle Brandy because Brandy was really sweet. Well, it took about 2 weeks. I couldn't understand why she did it. I was an absolute mess.
Got rid of how?
Gave her away. Gave her away to somebody else, an old couple. And it took about 2 weeks. And I was upset the whole time. I couldn't believe it. We've had this dog since it was born. It was just such a bonded part of my mom's life even, which shocked me because she was so close to this dog. So 2 weeks later at about 2 a.m., probably 3 a.m., my mom woke up in the middle of the night crying. And she said she had to get Brandy back. And I was really relieved when she told me first thing in the morning because I was still pretty upset over it. And she called that day to say, I really want Brandy back. And when she called the old couple, she found out the dog, Brandy, had died last night at about the time she woke up. And that always had an impact on me because I felt like the dog that I loved the most in my life, passed away without its family. And so that's a heavy story. It's a true story. And so how does that, when I tell you that story, I wouldn't tell it out of the blue. There'd have to be connection, there'd be a moment, we would be getting to know each other. And that's me sharing something deeper with you. And how does that feel when I share that with you?
Like I understand a deeper part of you.
Yeah. And could you feel emotion coming across?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah. That's what's important. Can't be afraid to share. Because vulnerability is important. Probably have a lot of noise on the mic, huh? It's all right. So vulnerability is important. That's what allows a woman to really get to know the human side of you and what you're like inside. Tension allows her to understand if you can handle the shit when the shit hits the fan. And she needs some of each. Okay? So, anything you want to say?
No, that's really good. I dated a guy for 1.5 years. Still don't think I understand him at all. Like I didn't know him because he wouldn't
open up.
Open up at all.
Yeah.
Like even when he told like traumatic stories, even like that, there was still nothing going on underneath it. He'd shut off so much that he was just numb. And to me, it numbed me out. I was like, well, I'm not getting anything from you.
And that would numb you out because he was transferring numbness in his emotions. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, he might have been good with tension. I don't know, but a lot of times they are. When they're numbed out that much, they can't feel anything, so they become good at tension. Mm-hmm. So with that said, make sure you comment below. I really want to hear what you think about this. I want to hear what the idea of feeling more vulnerable emotions means to you. Can you do it? Does it scare you? Does it excite you? Are you ready to learn how to do it? Are you ready to dive in deeper? Because if you can't feel your own emotions, you can't transfer them. I also want to know if you understand this concept of tension being the conduit. It's one of the most important concepts. It's something I realized one day during teaching a while back, and I've been teaching it ever since. And I think it's been one of the most valuable tools for students. So make sure you comment below. I want to see your comments. I want to hear what you think of this series because we can take this deeper and do more if you're getting value out of it. With that said, say goodbye to Lily. Bye. And Lily's saying goodbye to you. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and remember, only the confident really live. See you in the next video.